made by goblins for goblins. So if you're not a goblin, get out of here. I'm your host, Lettuce, and today I'm going to be doing a squishy makeover. I'm super inspired to do squishy makeovers by Mariah Elizabeth and Bellamina. As far as I'm aware, Mariah Elizabeth is the first person to come up with squishy makeovers, so all the credit is hers.
So we're just gonna go ahead and get started by trying to find a squishy. Not that one. I'm not sure what my motive here was, honestly. Maybe just to squish it and see if that gave me any good vibes. I'm gonna caress this one for a second, and yep, it's going with me. Let's find another one. I am so scared of this cat with the big paw. It came in like a set. I did not buy it on purpose, okay? I promise. I don't know what I would do with it. Let's check out this hedgehog. He sucks at squeezing, but he's gonna go home with me. Now let's find the last one. I'm only really gonna do 3, I think, today, and by I think I mean that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go find one though, because I just remembered I did not put it on here. It's a little one I got in a gacha machine? I don't know. It's a little cupcake, I think. We're gonna go ahead and just knock all those off the table. We don't need them right now. We just need our 3 victims of the day. So I'm gonna go ahead and set them out like this for you. Zoom in. Nope, that's zooming out. Alright, zoom in so you can see him. Here's our first victim. He's a little hedgehog. I went ahead and already tried to cut off the seams, but I've never done that before, so it's a little bit weird. Almost cut off his ear. Foreshadowing. And somehow I've already gotten glitter on me. Now he wasn't the first one I painted, but I'm gonna blame it on him anyway.
It's your fault my hands are so glittery.
Don't worry though, his crime will not go unpunished. I'm gonna go ahead and give him a couple layers of matte paint so he can suffocate. I mean, have a good base coat for the colors I'm gonna add on next. Here he is, mostly completely covered, and I'm gonna go ahead and cut off his ears. That's what that foreshadowing was earlier. Because I changed my mind. I was thinking about just like making him a different colored hedgehog, but I had a really good idea to turn him into a roly-poly. Now I know he has these like quills on his back still. I tried to fill in as much as I could to flatten it out, but this is my first time really trying to do any of this, so I'm gonna give myself a pass on this one. Now I'm gonna fill in his wounds with some puffy paint. Hopefully that'll soak up and be able to flatten it out a little bit more in that area. I'm also gonna squirt some puffy paint on the front of him, hot dog style, to fill in some of the cracks and holes that the matte paint maybe didn't fill in completely. I still haven't figured out an efficient way to paint them. Like what I would do is squirt a whole lot on there and then just paint it around the whole thing except for where my hands were. And I didn't have a good place to like set it down either, so I ended up having to repaint a couple of coats just because the paint came off whenever it stuck to the surface that I had set it down on. Now I'm gonna go ahead and make 2 shades of gray because if I know anything about roly-polies, it's that they're gray. Let me just unscrew this cap, take off that thing. I really should have prepared myself beforehand because I had to stop and take the little plastic piece off of almost every one of these bottles. I'm not really sure why I didn't just make a light gray and then later add more black to it after I was done with painting the front of his face. Speaking of faces, it looks like a little face right here. He's so cute and silly. I'm gonna go ahead and mix these up. I'm gonna spare y'all of all the mixing because I tried to add some blue to it, but that really didn't, you can't even tell at all. But we're gonna go ahead and start painting on his little bitty face, his big face. He's a pretty big size for a bug. I was gonna say something like, oh, if there was a roly-poly this big, I would totally keep it as a pet, but I'm pretty sure that's just isopods. I'm painting his body color on with this really crappy plastic paintbrush that I bought because I was just gonna use the end of it as like a dotting tool, and I mean, it's clear glitter plastic, it's kind of my kryptonite, but the brush is really not that good for not leaving streaks, so I'm having to go over areas a lot to try to get the paint lines to go away. I don't really think I was able to completely, but it's alright. Now I'm gonna go ahead and paint his back with a dark gray because I know everything about roly-polies from being a kid who messed with them at recess. There was one time I wrote a roly-poly's name on it, Sam, or maybe it was Fred. I wrote it on him in Sharpie and I feel really bad because he very obviously died from that. I'm gonna try to be super precise about how I'm painting the edges around his face because I don't want to have to try to go over later with a lighter color over a dark. That almost just never works out properly. Now I'm gonna give him some real wide set apart eyes because I think that gives him a good bug look. But my camera died, so now we're on our way to drawing the face using my iPhone's camera. I wanted to give him, I don't know, I've seen people draw like a kitty face but with multiples for kind of like a bug look. It looks like a mustache to me, and now I'm giving him eyebrows apparently, and he looks really evil. So let's give him some sweet antennae. I think those are gonna look a lot better on him. So here's the before. He's just a little hedgehog guy. And after, he's a buggy boy. I guess we'll name him Fred after the dude that I killed at the playground on accident. He squishes so much better now. Probably because I forgot to poke holes in him after painting him. Here's our next victim, the Cupcake. Though I realize now it's supposed to be like a galaxy cappuccino. While I'm mixing up these next colors, I'm gonna go ahead and be frank with you. Well, my name's not Frank, but if I was him, I would do the favor of not making you watch the next clips for me painting this thing, because I'm not even sure how, like, I managed to keep the smallest squishy out of the frame the most. But if I was gonna show you the clips of this, it would look a lot like this, and this, and this. Oh, there's a cat here. This one's not that bad, it's just a little out of focus. So I'll take this moment to kind of explain my idea for this squishy. Recently I tried boba tea for the first time. I had a strawberry with kiwi bubbles. So I always liked the aesthetic of boba, but now it has like a place in my heart because I've actually tried it. So this one's supposed to be like a raspberry and plum boba tea thing. I'm not really sure if anyone actually puts whipped cream on top of it, but I didn't really know what to do with it. Speaking of things that don't go on boba tea, I'm pretty sure no one has put sprinkles on this before. I mean, boba's kind of like drink sprinkles. While I'm putting the sprinkles on top, I do want to apologize for just how many times things are either cut off or out of focus. I'm hoping to get like a better setup, but for right now, this is my setup. And here's my neighbor's cat saying hello. Since I'm new to all this, I hope you'll forgive me for any mistakes I make now and in the future while I'm still learning. And even though we don't have that many subscribers, I still hope we'll have a really fun and funky time here. Here's the before and the after. I accidentally dropped it, so that's why the back looks a little messed up, but I actually really like how this one came out. Our last victim of the day is this elephant. He's like carnival or fair themed. I sanded a good bit of his face off and now I'm squeezing him. He squeezes really well, squishes well. I'm gonna paint over his face and oh my gosh, I did not realize how many layers this was gonna take. I'm pretty sure it was like 7 or 8 layers, no joke. And now he's back and we're just gonna put one more layer on him. This time it's gonna be puffy paint to fill in those cracks and holes that the matte paint didn't do already. You can still see some of his original design, but that's totally fine. We're going to be putting more colors over that. You'll soon learn that I hate the color red, but it is an essential part of the design I'm going for here, so I'm just going to make it a little more pastel so it's not as harsh on my poor little eyeballs. Now I'm just going to mix a nice buttery yellow because he's going to be a box of popcorn. I wanted him to be themed kind of like the fair, and I know what you're thinking.
Popcorn's not at the fair.
But check this out, it's right on his side. Now I can't take credit for this idea, it was actually my girlfriend's idea to do the popcorn. I was gonna do like some seriously complicated like Ferris wheel thing, make his face the Ferris wheel, and then his body some kind of mechanical bottom part, and then his ears, clouds, I don't know. It wasn't really well thought out, so I'm glad that she suggested this one. I think it's a lot more cohesive. So I painted the stripes on, and now I'm painting on his 5 o'clock shadow. I don't really know if it's a 5 o'clock or a 10 o'clock, 3 o'clock, whatever. It's like that Elvis song, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, rock. I hope that's how it goes.
No.
I don't think I've ever really listened to any Elvis, but that's not the point here. Anyway, I'm painting its head, and in a second you're gonna see...
Oh no!
Yeah, I accidentally gave him a head wound, but it's okay.
Tis but a flesh wound.
Now I'm using a dotting tool from a fondant set thingy from Dollar Tree, and I'm just gonna put little dots in the shape of popcorn because his head is popcorn. I mean, it just makes sense. Later on I do end up darkening those though, because I think they're too close to the same value as his base coat. It was just kind of blending in too much for my liking. Also, this is my second day of recording, and I've come down with some type of, I think, sinus infection, so I'm sorry if I sound kind of stuffy. I'm trying to edit out all of my sniffles. Alright, now I'm going to put on his eyes with this massive dotting tool that's also for fondant, apparently. It's like the perfect size. I'm gonna draw on these lines here just so you can kind of have the impression of his legs and stuff again. I did accidentally forget to put his little toesies on there. Sorry, bud. I'm filming at a really weird angle here, so it was difficult to try to like do this outline properly. So I did have to go back and fix it off camera later. Now I'm gonna use an orangey yellow color, yellow-orange, to give him his irises. I had a really hard time with this because I thought they looked weird, but then you know how you just like keep trying to fix things and they just keep getting worse. So then I had to go back and try to draw the whites of his eyes again, but doing that made the camera blurry, so you can really tell that I was putting in the detail here, I'm sure. Just trust me on this one. You'll see whenever it gets back to it. I'm just putting the details on his face now. I had a really hard time deciding how I was going to do his nose, but I decided that simpler would be better, because I feel like if I outlined his nose it would just be like too harsh, I guess. I'm giving his pupils too, and I didn't wait for the orange to dry, so it kind of got a little messy in there, but I was able to fix it up later without a problem. He's looking a little horrifying right now, so I tried to give him some little sparklies in his eyes to hopefully make that better. I'm not sure it did, so I'm gonna give him a little smile where I think the bottom of an elephant's mouth is. I think that did help some, but I don't know, he just has this like vacant stare, like he's thinking of doing something evil. So here's the before and the after. I really like how he turned out, and he has a really good squeezability, squishability, I don't know. Look at them all together, they're so cute. Which ones do you think I should do next?
And here they are. My dog wants to eat them, but he's not allowed to. I think I did pretty good for my first time. I would say my favorite is definitely the roly-poly. I think it's just cool that I was able to like turn one animal into a different animal. I think bugs are animals. But I also really like the elephant popcorn. Okay. I can't. No, Maya, not for you. Not juggle for you, juggle